Well, thank you all for being here. I'm so honored and excited to be part of this program, these two wonderful travel programs here. And I am with Premier World Discovery. And I'm going to go ahead and get started with my PowerPoint since I've got lots to share with you. So enjoy your charcuterie boards and your beverages, and we'll get started. Hang on one sec here. I have a remote, but it's not working. All right, so there we go. So a little bit about myself. I am a Michigan gal. I live in Livonia, born and raised in Dearborn Heights. I have 3 kids, and I love travel. I have my whole life. When I was younger, I wanted to be a flight attendant when I was young, right? So here I am. I've been doing this for 34 years and love it. I'm honored to have this wonderful, wonderful career. Premier World Discovery, if you're not familiar with us, and I'm recognizing faces out here, people that have traveled with us, and I love that because I'm getting to know more and more people. But we've been around since 1999. We are headquartered in Redondo Beach, California, and I like to tell people that in case they ever need to call the office, to try to call around noon, right, until the evening. And then, of course, we have all our really, really important travel affiliations as well that are important in the travel industry. All my tours are by plane. Every trip you go on with me, I will do a final document briefing about 2 weeks before your trip. Go through the final documents, make sure that you're prepared. All of our tours include round-trip airport transportation, which is a really nice perk as well, between a designated location in Detroit Metro. I put a note at the bottom here because we're starting to get a little hiccup. Any trip that has a post-extension, the pickups, there's only 2, coming and going. So, and if someone takes the post-extension, a couple people, your pickup back would not be included. So I just like to be transparent about that, but it's always going to be the majority for the pickups to and from, okay? I usually, 99% of the time, I'm at the airport. I help, I assist. If it's a big group, I can get a private group check-in. If it's a smaller group, we use the kiosks, and I help push buttons and make it a lot easier for you. Coming and going, by the way, both coming and going. We have a professional tour director on every trip from start to finish. You travel on deluxe motor coaches just like you would on any tour, and have a lovely driver who works with like a team with the tour director. Meals on every tour, daily breakfast, and then multiple dinners included on each tour, welcome dinner, farewell dinner, and usually other meals sprinkled in between. We offer a booking discount, so we do welcome credit cards. There's no credit card fees when you pay by credit card. However, if you can make that final payment by check, and sometimes Mary gets a bunch of them, or Dawn, and I come and pick them up and bring them to the post office. But if you can make that final payment by check, we will offer you a $100 booking discount off the price of your trip. River Cruises is $200. And then let the fun begin. Travel is booming. I love these pictures. They make me happy. That bottom right corner down there is the cutest one. But travel is just so fun. So I'm going to go ahead and get started first with our Idaho Rivers and Resorts and Rivers tour. This one's coming up, and we do have space. And I know people are still interested. They've been still getting calls about it. Do not hesitate. September 18th is coming up quickly, right? So you'll fly into Spokane and home from Boise, Idaho. So here's the map. You can see how that goes. We don't want to circle back. We fly into Spokane, Washington, and out of Boise, Idaho. 6 nights accommodations, 2 nights in Coeur d'Alene, 2 nights in Salmon Rapids Lodge in Riggins, and then 2 nights in Sun Valley. 11 meals are included on this tour. Of course, your tour director, you fly into Spokane. That first day is kind of a day to get settled, and we transfer you to your resort. This is the resort of resorts. If you've never been to the northwest of America, this is so scenic. And a secret, I almost moved to Spokane years ago. I was this close. I had money on a house. This area is heavenly. Absolutely scenic and amazing. Coeur d'Alene is gorgeous. This hotel is famous for the home of the longest floating boardwalk in the country. It's built in 1986 and it's 3/4 of a mile long, right on the water, so you enjoy that. We'll visit Wallace, dating back to the 1800s. This is every building in their downtown area is a National Historic Registry of Historic Places in this town. And they say this town's the center of the universe, but it is also the largest silver distributor in the world right here. So you'll get to go inside and learn a little bit about that industry as well. We're going to take you to a ranch, family owned and operated, 4 generations still living there. It's a cattle ranch, but you can take a ride. The meadows are beautiful. The scenery is gorgeous. Learn about this area, and then we'll have a fun welcome Dutch oven style welcome dinner for everybody together as well. The next day, we'll travel through the Clear Mountains on our way to historic Lewiston, Idaho. Obviously also founded in the late 1800s after the gold rush, but it was the first capital at one time before it changed to Boise. But the downtown area we'll give you some free time to explore and enjoy. But then we're going to take you through the Hell's Gate State Park. And it's funny, they have a Hell's Gate and Heaven's Gate. This area has, but through the Snake River. This is 15,000 years ago this was formed, and Lewis and Clark actually went through this rugged area. So there's a lot of story. It is the deepest gorge in America, and it's fantastic. We're going to take you to the Lewis and Clark Discovery Center. Indoor displays, outdoor displays, film about their journey. Obviously an amazing thing to learn about and see as well. We'll be spending some time seeing the beautiful Salmon River, learning about how the salmon spawn and getting some lovely scenery. In September is a gorgeous time. You'll probably even get some fall foliage as well. We'll be stopping in Riggins, where we're going to spend a couple nights. The town, as you can see, is kind of nestled down in the valley of these beautiful canyons. It's quaint and lovely, and you'll spend 2 nights at the lodge there. We are going to take you on a Hell's Canyon Snake Boat River, like jet boat cruise, right? So this is a very historic area. The scenery, the plants, the animals, the indigenous that were indigenous to the area, as well as learning about the Native Americans who lived here and loved this land as well. But look at that. Doesn't that look like a lot of fun? You might get a little wet. And then that afternoon, you'll have some free time in this tiny little town of Riggins. The Banana Company, the Cattleman's, there's a store called the Tourist Trap, which everyone loves, or you can just swim in the pool and relax and wind down. Next day, we're going to head through the Sawtooth Mountains. These forests and mountains date back 1 billion years. No lie. These mountains are magnificent, almost 11,000 feet high, overlooking the city. And then we'll head into McCall, also another town. It's on Payette Lake, dating back to the 1800s. What's unique about this town is it was all settled by the Native Americans, and then Finnish people came in and settled here. So you can still see remnants of Finnish architecture and antique furniture and things from Finns that settled here back in the 1800s. Quite lovely. Here's beautiful Payette Lake. This is on Ponderosa State Park, and it's carved out of a glacier, so the scenery is magnificent. And then the beautiful Sun Valley, Idaho, right? This is the home of the rich and famous, right? This is where all the famous Clark Gable, Errol Flynn, Marilyn Monroe, Lucille Ball back in the old days, and then modern like Oprah Winfrey and Clint Eastwood, Tom Hanks, all of them have a home there. Many, many more. It's the place to be. We'll spend 2 nights in Sun Valley, and then we'll spend in this lovely upscale town. It's a ski resort, so year-round, there's lots of action happening. This was actually the very first ski resort in America, was here in Sun Valley. So Ketchum's a neighboring town. We're obviously going to take you there as well. It's voted one of America's most beautiful small towns, so you have free time to shop and explore. And then we're also going to visit the Hemingway Memorial. So if you're not familiar, Hemingway, obviously he was in Cuba and had places around, and when he had to leave there, he came here and he loved this area. So this is where he actually finished For Whom the Bell Tolls, was here. This is where he was inspired. So you'll have time to go in his museum and see artifacts about his history, as well as local history and artifacts and memorabilia as well. And then you'll have some free time in Sun Valley, Ketchum, to take in some of the sights and sounds, the Ore Wagon and Bonding Museum, the Sawtooth Club, the Whiskey Jocks, Botanical Gardens, things like that. We certainly want to give you some downtime to enjoy. So you'll fly home on day 7, so September 18th through the 24th. Regular rate $37.99 per person, double, and then of course your booking discount if you pay by check is another $100 off. Those of you that are a single, the single price is an additional $1,050, and that is only based on hotel. I always get this question: why is the single so much more? It's because you're paying for the room all to yourself versus a partner, right? So that's the single. Space is limited, first come, first served. Again, we definitely have room on this. We'd love you to join. $400 is your deposit. Final payment due 75 days prior, which I think is like July. So it's final payment's coming up quick. Travel protection, it's an additional $325. If you want travel protection, you have to purchase it with the deposit, which then becomes $725, okay? And there is information about insurance on the back of the flyer. So let me jump ahead to our holiday tour that we have coming up. And I know I'm kind of toward the back of the packet there. Forgive me. If you take it all apart, you'll find these in order. December 6th through the 12th is our historic Savannah and Charleston holiday. Those of you folks, if you've never been south of this part of the country, it's so different than Michigan. Landscape, architecture, the way they talk, the way the Southerners are so welcoming and so slow-paced. It is such an amazing destination to go if you've never been. And it's lovely this time of year, right? So this particular trip, same thing. You fly in on this one to Charleston, and then you fly out of Jacksonville. And again, we don't want you to have to circle back. So we fly in and out of 2 different cities. 2 nights Charleston in the historic district, 2 nights in Savannah in the historic district, and then the last 2 nights on Jekyll Island at the famous Jekyll Island Golf Resort, right? 9 meals included. And I'm going to zip through some pictures to give you an idea of Charleston. I always say, like in the South, a lot of these small historic towns, the tallest building is always going to be your church steeples, right? So beautiful bridges, lovely old and new blend, right? We're going to take you to a historic plantation and gardens, the Middleton Place, learn about the family who lived here, and see their beautiful gardens and grounds and things. We're going to tour the historic district of Charleston. This main strip here, I was just there last year. It's just a lovely, very bright, very vibrant, colorful, but at Christmas, things, of course, are decorated a little bit even more beautiful. So I threw in a few pictures that I found of how they kind of decorate the buildings, of the hat on top of the coat up there. But the buildings are lovely. And the palm trees are lit up. It's just unique. The Charleston part of the tour will take in the Battery Park Pineapple Fountain. Pineapples are a big symbol of wealth and prosperity in the South, right? They're back in the 1800s. They were very hard to get, and this fountain actually represents restoration and hope. It was built in the 90s, 1990, I think, after Hurricane Hugo. So this is a really important symbol to the city. We'll visit the Citadel, and of course, we're going to take you to see the holiday lights. So in Michigan, we love our holiday lights, but they also have them down south. So you'll see some different scenery as well. This one I threw together as it's a drive through. Most of it you're driving, but this is kind of how they light up the city, and the palm trees are lit up. It's just magnificent, right? We love this. This is something unique. On the next morning after breakfast, before heading out of town, we're at the Edmonston Elston House. This home, believe it or not, has been through war, has been through hurricanes, has been through fires, has been through every possible thing you could imagine. But these artifacts have been saved for over 150 years. And this is all original stuff in here, most of it. And the family has done a really great job of just keeping it preserved for a museum. We're going to give you some time in Beaufort dating back to like the early 1700s. This town is a quaint, town kind of built right on the water there. We're going to take you on a carriage ride. Get off the bus and do something a little bit different. Learn the history of Beaufort from a carriage. And then we're going to take you into Savannah. So Savannah, this town too, over 1,000 buildings in Savannah are registered as historic landmarks. So this town actually is also the original first town that was planned. So it's built on a grid. It was the very, very first town that was planned that way. We'll stop at the Savannah Mercer Williams house. This is a perfect example of what the wealthy, how they lived at this time. They started building this in the late 1800s, and the Civil War stopped all building. So no Savannah or Mercer Williams ever lived, no Mercer or Williams ever lived in this home. So again, they just absolutely kept it a beautiful replica to see kind of an example of what it would have been like. Savannah City Tour, again, the historic district. First Plan City, you go through the gingerbread houses and see this area as well. Lovely architecture, like just really unique and special. Forsyth Park, there are 20 original squares. The town, like at the town square, there's 20 of them. So all of them kind of boast fountains and monuments and big oak trees and mossy, oaks and things like that as well. The Cotton Exchange building, part of the big history. People came from all over the world to do cotton exchange here in Savannah back in the day. The beautiful Riverwalk. Next day, we're going to visit on our way to Jekyll Island. We're going to stop at St. Simon's Island. They're kind of partnering neighboring islands and see the salt marshes, learn about the St. Simon's Lighthouse was actually destroyed in the Civil War and then rebuilt, and it's again another iconic, decommissioned but still iconic historic structure there. And then we'll arrive at Jekyll Island, over 5,000 acres, 10 miles of shoreline, self-contained, and of course known. They say this is so peaceful and tranquil on this area and a natural habitat, very protected. But the resort itself, as you know, this was a hunting lodge, a reserve for the top millionaire men, only the guys, right? But Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, Pulitzers, Goodyears, all the names that you would know from history all came here and had their nights. So I always say, boy, if these walls could talk, right, in this place. But at Christmas, they do an amazing job, thousands and thousands of Christmas lights, and beautiful to just walk around. And here's what the inside kind of looks like. They've done a great job of keeping it with its traditional charm. You're going to do a Jekyll Island trolley tour because the bus can't get around. It's very quaint in a lot of these areas. Again, a national landmark historic district is what this is. Cherokee Cottage, this is part of Jekyll Island Resort, and of course now used for cottages or for weddings and things. The Faith Chapel, again, Register of Historic Places in the U.S., charming as it is on this quaint island. We'll also visit the Jekyll Island Mosaic Museum as well. So you'll have dinner in the grand dining room and then fly home from Jacksonville. So here we are, December 6th to the 12th, $35.75 and then $34.75 and you're single. Deposit $400, travel protection $325. Again, you want to get those together. And then let's move on to sunny San Diego. So here we are, jumping into 2025 already. And forgive me for rushing, but I've got a clock ticking here and I'm trying to respect everyone's time. So we have a lovely tour to sunny San Diego in Southern California. If you have never been to California, it's one of those destinations, we don't just hop on a plane and go to California because it's so, stretches so long and you're not really sure where and what to do. So this tour is beautiful. February 20th, we all know what the weather's like that time of year, right? So we'll fly round trip to San Diego, and you're going to be staying in one hotel for 5 nights. It's a hub and spoke, and you're going to stay either at the Embassy Suites or the Hilton Garden right in Old Town or in the downtown area for the whole time. 8 meals and tour guide as you arrive. Again, that first day we don't plan a lot because we want you to just get settled in. Here are the top 2 corners, right and left, are the 2 different properties that we use. Both accommodations are lovely, as you can imagine. We will give you some free time in Old Town that first day, because coming from Michigan, we gain 3 hours, right? So we'll get over there, it'll be afternoon, and you'll have some free time. Then we kick in the next day with our touring. We do a full city San Diego tour. The bay is magnificent. It's glass and brass, right? This is flashy and fancy and beautiful, the boats and the marina, but then we take it to the Gaslamp Quarter. This is the historic part of San Diego, downtown San Diego. So you'll get a chance to kind of see the old and the new. Point Loma, this is actually in the mid-1500s where the Portuguese navigator landed. Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo landed and explored this area for 6 days, and then of course they put up a monument to commemorate that first European step in California. So, and they raised the Spanish flag. We'll see the Heritage Victorian Village Park. A lot of these homes were moved from different parts of California and brought here to make this really special. So you'll see different types of architecture in these homes. You'll be able to do the Coronado Bay. Look at this. The Coronado Bay Bridge is just magnificent. The amount of people in this area is just awesome. And we'll take you over to Coronado Island. You've never seen the Hotel del Coronado. There's an amazing pier that goes out, and it's haunted. So if any of you are interested in that type of thing, it is really a big piece of their history. USS Midway Museum. We're going to take you on a harbor cruise. And on another day, we're going to even take you to Palm Springs, California. And Palm Springs is neat because you drive outside of the hustle bustle of the city. And you know why the famous people love it here? Because you get away from the hustle bustle, and this is what you find, right? Snow-capped mountains and golf courses and lovely homes. And we're going to take you on the old movie colony tour, so learn about all the famous people in their homes and see where they lived, and then have some free time in Palm Springs as well. On our way back, you cannot go to California without wine tasting. So we'll take you to Temecula and through the valley and just enjoy some wine tasting and some good laughter and a lot of fun. We're going to do, on day 4, Scenic Balboa Park. I love this part because I think the Spanish architecture is absolutely exquisite and beautiful, and that's what I love, this whole region. You'll see it in all the buildings, and you'll have a tour in free time. And we're also going to take you to the famous San Diego Zoo. If you haven't been, we're going to take you on a ride through the zoo. And you're welcome to walk, ride, whatever you want to do, wherever you're most comfortable. But this is a really great way to see it and all the beloved animals that come along. And remember, their zoo might be different because they can have animals that maybe we can't have in Michigan, right? So you'll see a lot of different things. And the panda returns. So the panda had left the San Diego Zoo, now back. So I love this picture. They're so darn cute. Next day, we're going to do a Pacific Surfliner train up and down the coast. Actually, it'll take you up the coast. The motor coach will be waiting on the other end, and you'll get to take in the San Juan Capistrano Mission, founded, it's a national landmark. It's 7 of 21 that are in the country, and the Spanish founded it, so you have this amazing architecture, and learn about the Native Americans and Spanish kind of came together to build this, and it was a self-sufficient community to give back, and agriculture, education, religion, all part of it as well. So this chapel still stands, and it's actually been doing mass for over 200 years. Beautiful. We'll have some time in La Jolla. We'll give you some free time for lunch and browsing around the beautiful La Jolla. And the next morning after breakfast, you hop on a plane and head back. Sunny San Diego, Feb 20 through the 25th, regular rate. Booking discount, $35.49, and then of course your singles there. And the temperatures on average are like today, 65, sunny, right? 66. This is about what you get. Again, $400 deposit. Final payment. I highlighted it because as of 2025, the final payment's moving up 90 days. You could thank the airline for that because they've moved up their deadlines as well. But our insurance is $375. Again, this is all on the back of the flyer. So let's see. Next but not least, Great Trains in Grand Canyons. This is our #1 selling trip for the past 22 years. I've been on it, and it is magnificent. This is May 4th through the 9th. I actually had groups there right now. The weather has been spectacular. And as you can see, it is a perfect hub and spoke because you're in 5 nights in Sedona, upscale, and then you hub and spoke from there. So we have a few different properties that we use, so we'll know that as we get closer. Breakfast every day and 3 dinners, motor coach arrival. I took this picture actually. This is an actual motor coaching group that I was with. On our first day, we'll hit Old Town Scottsdale, do some shopping, and then step into the most beautiful area I had ever seen. Here's our hotels. You'll spend the whole time in Sedona. Trolley tour of the city. Instead of a bus tour, we'll take you on a trolley tour, and you'll learn about all the different rock formations, and they name them, right? This is the Airport Mesa, which is overlooking the city, and then Bell Rock, very famous. I actually had a couple that went hiking on this rock on our tour. And then this is the one I got to point out. They call this the Snoopy Rock. I had to put it because I'm like, I don't see it. Maybe a little bit, I don't know, but that's the Snoopy Rock. And then the Chapel of the Holy Cross is actually something else. You will go inside and see this magnificent structure that was built by a female architect with the help of Andrew Lloyd Wright. So you go back to Sedona, and you'll have free time in Sedona to shop, grab lunch, and those of you who are daring enough, you want to try something a little bit adventurous, there's a pink Jeep tour available. It's an optional tour available. You can purchase it when you get there. That's my mom. She's 86 years old. And that's her, yep, she's 86, and those are her friends in the middle, and they all did it. So this picture's a little deceiving, I will say. I do not remember going off-roading, but it's a lot of fun. And it does take you where the buses can't go, right? And then we'll head to Pakalaki, another art and craft village just outside of Sedona, just a few minutes away, and give you some time to do some last-minute browsing. Next day, Oak Creek Canyon, we get up in the morning. Most scenic drive in all of Arizona is the Oak Creek Canyon, Cathedral Rock, very, very famous. And then we'll head to Williams, Arizona for to catch the train. We are not taking the bus to the Grand Canyon. We're hopping on a turn-of-the-century train and taking a rugged ride for a couple hours, meet the conductor, and look at the drive. Gorgeous. Oh my gosh, it was so relaxing and beautiful. And then you'll arrive at the south rim of the Grand Canyon. Up there, it's filled with historic resorts. There's a museum, and you can have lunch up there and enjoy. And then that's me with that little ledge that goes across, right? Goes up to about your thighs, and then boop, drops off. So really awesome. The views are amazing. We also stop at another viewpoint here to get another kind of perspective of it. And then that evening we do dinner in Flagstaff and wind down at Black Bart's. And I don't want to give away too many secrets, but it's a really entertaining dinner. Next day after breakfast, we visit Montezuma Castle National Monument. Love this. This is actually the 12th, 13th century Native American Sinagua Indians. They have guides out there, and there's the well at the bottom left corner, and then that is a kind of a little screen, a miniature size of what it was like living in these dwellings. They are also a National Historic spot. Jerome, we're going to visit. Historical landmark. Interesting thing about this town is back in the turn of the century when the gold rush came, early part of the century, everyone went there thinking there was gold. Well, there was copper, so the town thrived, 15,000 people thriving, and then everything dried up, and then it became a ghost town. Literally ghost town. So then in the 50s and 60s, some people came back and brought it back to life. So you can enjoy some time in Jerome. Then we're going to take the Verde Canyon Railroad. This is known as the Wilderness Train. So your ride is relaxing. Couches, all the men were sleeping at the end of the cruise. They were literally, and there's a bar in the back you can see. They were drinking some beers and they were making all kinds of fun things and lemonade and all stuff and water. But it's really a neat cruise because it cuts right through a national area. And there's outdoor trains for viewing, so you can go out and get some scenery and, trestles and tunnels and all kinds of things. And then day 5 is a day at leisure, so you have a choice where you can spend the day doing what you want. There's all kinds of things to do, or you can take our optional tour to Sunset Crater Volcano National Monument in Wapaki. This you can purchase when you get there. You do not have to plan this ahead of time. Our farewell dinner is at the Blazin' M Ranch. And we'll go outside and enjoy the ranch before we go inside for a chuck wagon supper and Western stage show. This trip is such a well-oiled machine, and it's just a magnificent experience. Regular price, $35.49, $100 booking discount, May 4th through the 9th. Everything here is the same, $400 deposit, 90 days prior, and your deposit or your final payment. And then last but not least, I have 4 minutes left, I'm doing good. Last but not least, we have a few teasers. Our Burgundy Provence French River Cruise, I'll promote this later as we get closer, October 28th. We are on board Amadeus Provence. We charter the entire ship as a company. All the people on this ship are just Premier World Discovery travelers, so we have complete control of inventory and all the activities and things that go on. Pricing is in the flyer, and don't let it sticker shock you. River cruises are going to be a little bit more. You are getting everything, breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks. You get to go on and off the ship and do tours. There's a couple optional things, but if you want to see France, this is the way to go. And please read through the itinerary. Last but not least is our Rose Parade and New Year's for 2025, 2026. See, I'm really making you think ahead here. So for those of you who've ever wanted to escape for New Year's, maybe you don't have anything going on, this is your trip. California, New Year's Eve party. So we throw a big party at New Year's Eve, and I think midnight's actually maybe 9 p.m. It's like a fake midnight thing, right? Because the next day is the Tournament of Roses parade. And this year Michigan was in it, and I had a group there. They had an amazing time. We can never guarantee that, right? But the Rose Parade, I was told, I quoted a lady at a meeting. She said, it's the parade of all parades. It's not only does it smell beautiful, but this is just an annual event of magnitude, right? People come from all over the world to see this. So pricing and all that is in the flyer and all the inclusions, but it does do like the Beverly Hills, California area and also the San Diego area. So it has a little bit of both. And then how do I sign up? There is a form on every flyer on the back. And all the details that I'm talking about right now can all be found in the back. Where to send checks payable to, deposits, final payments, insurance, that middle section on the very back on the far right in that column. It's all about the travel protection. And if you don't buy travel protection or you have your own insurance, our cancellation fees are also in a box down in that column as well. So travel protection information is there. Registration, you can see I've got the Oxford here and Independence. Those are both found on the back of the flyer at the very top. They will handle everything for you. 29 minutes and 3 seconds. And thank you for being here. Look at that. Woo-hoo! I did it. Woo! Yes, I'm going to draw. I've got...
Hey everyone, thanks for having me today. I just got back with some of you last night from the Tulip Festival, and we got through the rain. We did see tulips, even though the ones in the ground were all gone. They brought more in for this other site, so it was good. We did what we could with Mother Nature, right? Yep. All right, so I don't have that much to present today, but I have a few, one for this year and then a few for next year. It's weird that we're already talking about next year travel. But for those of you who know my company, we're very small. It's just my husband and I that, Tracy is, here one. There we go. It's just my husband and I that run Excite Tours. We started it about 7 years ago. And his uncle owns the bus company that we use, All Star Chauffeured Services. So he one day was like, hey, what about starting a travel company? And I'm like, okay. And here we are 7 years later. My kids were babies when we started, like 1 and 3, I think they were. And so now they're 8 and almost 10. It's just so crazy how fast time has gone by. But we have had fun doing this travel. We've learned a lot, and we've grown as a company, and we have met so many wonderful people. So we really enjoy seeing our return people and getting to meet new people as they decide to trust us with their travel. But we are fully licensed and insured. Our chauffeurs are wonderful. We have about 3 that we work with that just know our company and how we operate on a consistent basis. So it's a really, really great experience traveling on our buses. This is a picture of one of our buses. We just got a brand new one, and this is not the brand new one, but this is, I guess, the middle newer one. But they're really, really nice with leather seating, wood flooring. The seats recline. There's a little footstool for people with shorter legs if your feet can't quite touch the floor. Bathroom on board, Wi-Fi. You get electrical outlets and USB ports at each seat. So it's very, very friendly for traveling. If you know how we travel, you know we don't ever stop feeding you. So it's snacks and snacks galore. We provide water and juice, and this is all on top of any meals that are included on our trips. So what I'm presenting today is Niagara Falls Winter Festival of Lights. We did this with your 2 centers 2 years ago, and we got hit with that big Buffalo storm. We didn't get as much snow as Buffalo. It wasn't like 13 feet, but we had, maybe 1 to 2 feet, but it made it gorgeous. You never know what you're going to get with the weather. So if we get snow, expect beautiful pictures and maybe a little bit of a hike in your boots. If we don't get snow, it's a wonderful time to explore the town, and the falls are just as gorgeous as ever. So this includes round-trip transportation, your breakfasts each day, snacks on board the bus, 2 nights with a Falls View room. We will have 1 group dinner at the Skyline Tower, and we'll have a tour of lights. There is a whole park that is just decorated to the T with Christmas lights that we're able to drive through. And then we will visit the Butterfly Conservatory, Niagara's Fury, Journey Behind the Falls, which I will talk a little bit more in a bit. The pricing is there. Singles $950, double $750 per person, triple $700 per person, quad $650 per person. So we will be staying at the Sheraton on the Falls. There's a picture to show you how close to the falls it is. All of our rooms are Falls View. That guarantees Falls View, but doesn't guarantee if you want a king bed versus two queens. So most of the rooms are 2 queens. So I always tell that for my couples or even a single who wants a king bed. You're not guaranteed the bed, but you're guaranteed the awesome view, and the view is what you want. The hotel is located right on Clifton Hill. For those of you who don't know what Clifton Hill is, it's just like basically a whole block of amusement park. All these really cool shops and exhibits that you can go into. There's a casino, and then there's like a moving movie theater. I haven't been into it, so I can't attest to what the experience is like, but it's just a really fun street that you can walk up and down, and it's just right outside of our hotel. When we are, for our dinner's at the Skyline Tower, which is the big tower that you see in the picture. The elevator ride is super quick. It's a huge elevator, so if you have any problems with being in small spaces, don't worry. The elevator takes you up very quick, and it's a large space, and they don't jam pack you in there, so don't worry if you're claustrophobic. Once you get up to the dining floor, the tables are all on a revolving floor. So it revolves 360 degrees in 1 hour. And this also gets you great views of the entire city of Niagara Falls because the windows are floor to ceiling. You can get up, walk around, get your pictures, and it's really nice because the middle of the restaurant doesn't move, just the outside where the tables are. So it's like 1 second you're hearing the piano, and the next second you are by the kitchen, and so it's kind of a cool experience. But you don't really feel like you're moving. When you're moving that bit in an hour, you don't even realize that it's happening. So don't worry about motion sickness.
Could I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
There's two sides to the falls. Are you talking about the US side or
We are on the Canadian side. Yeah. So you have to have a passport.
Silence their phone. Do you know how to shut their phone off?
It's not mine.
You look pretty savvy.
So when we are experiencing the falls, we get what we call a Discovery Pass. And this also includes a WeGo Pass, and that's their bus system. So they have a bus called WeGo, and there's stops all over the place. So if you want to explore the whole town of Niagara Falls, that pass will allow you to explore it for free. You just scan it as you enter the bus. There's a whole map system, so you know where all of the pickup spots are. So that's included. The first thing we do is go to the Butterfly Conservatory. And it's not, you don't walk in and have butterflies swarming you. It is so beautiful and calm, and you're just surrounded by these beautiful gardens, and there's the waterfalls that you hear in the background, and just butterflies that are just, slowly fluttering past you. Some will land on you. I have pictures of my people from the past with butterflies that are even just like on their hair right here. So it's fun. After that, we go down to it's called Table Rock, and that is where all of the main events of the falls happen. So there's the Niagara's Fury, which is a theater that we go into, and it's a 360-degree theater. You are on a moving platform, but again, it's not going to make you lose your balance. If you're worried about it, they will put a chair on there for you, so they have a handicap area. Other than that, they have little bars everywhere, so everyone who's standing can kind of hang on. Again, it just maybe rocks you for a split second. It's trying to give you the idea of how the falls were created if you were kind of on a boat. So it shows you the whole way Mother Nature created our beautiful Niagara Falls. It's a really cool experience. It kind of mists some water at you. It's a full sensory experience. I've never had a complaint about it. Everyone thinks it's really cool. After that, we let you take your pass to do the journey behind the falls, and this is going to be on your own. So you'll either take an elevator down or the stairs down, depending on your ability, and you will be going through the tunnels behind the falls. This is something that Mary and Dawn and I just talked about last week for what we wanted to do going forward. So the first thing that we have is in June of 2025, Ark Encounter and Creation Museum. This one, I was so pleasantly surprised when I went on it. I didn't really know what to expect, and we had the best time. We took Waterford a couple years ago. It was last year, actually, and when we arrived into Cincinnati, we went to the zoo and botanical gardens, and the zoo was amazing. There was so many more animals that you would ever see at our Detroit Zoo, and the gardens were incredible. It was really hot that day, so not everybody had done as much as they would have liked to do, but with us going in June versus August, which is when we went last year, I don't think we'll have as hot of temperatures yet. But the zoo was incredible, and they just have a lot to offer. After the zoo, we'll check into our hotel, and then that evening we will take a dinner cruise on BB River boats. And this goes down the river where Cincinnati and Kentucky cross over, or the bridges cross over and meet. This was a really nice dinner cruise. The buffet was wonderful, and then they have live music, and just sailing down the river was really nice. You get some great night views too, and the bridges are all lit up, so you get some great pictures. The next day, we will go to the Ark Encounter, and you will get basically a very ample amount of time to explore the Ark. It can take you, depending on how much you read, you could be in the Ark for 2 to 3 hours. And then they have the outside area where they have their own little zoo. And their zoo has some more unique animals, not your typical ones. They put on a performance where these animal trainers will bring these animals out, and they go through like, why does a porcupine have its sharp needles that to protect itself, and just the whole creation. Obviously the Ark is centered around God's creation of everything, and so they really do a great job at just going into detail about the animals and why they were put on this earth and why we have them and what they do for us and all that stuff. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed it. So you get a ton of time at the Ark. You get a pass, a voucher for lunch. So that's always a bonus. And then the next day we go to the Creation Museum. So we do them in separate days because they both need a lot of time, and doing them together in one day is just, you wouldn't get enough time. The Creation Museum it's more biblical. So it kind of goes through the story of Adam and Eve and just the creation of our world. So that was really nice. You don't need as much time there as the Ark. I think we were there for about 2 hours, and that was to get you through the museum, give you time for lunch, and then from there we head home. So that's 2 nights in Kentucky that we stay, and then we come home. So that's that for the Ark. We'll get pricing on that as soon as we can. Stratford Film Festival, this will be in August. And this will be 1 night in Stratford, and it will be 2 theater performances. You'll get breakfast each day. I'm looking into meals as far as if we do a group dinner or if we do a lunch. Again, more of that information will be coming soon. And then finally, we're going to go to Graceland in November. This will be early November, so it doesn't get too close to Thanksgiving. Round trip transportation, they just opened the guest house on the Graceland property. So we'll be staying at the guest house. We'll have a overnight stay en route to Memphis, and then 3 nights at the Graceland guest house, and then another night on the way home. We're going to do a tour of Graceland. We'll go to the Sun Studio, Beale Street, and a day trip to Tupelo, Elvis's birthplace. So like I said, we'll get you guys more details as far as pricing and specifics of what's included with meals. And as soon as we do, they'll put it in the newsletter so you will know and you can sign up. But that's all I got for you. So not too much from us, but I just got back from 3 or 4 months from a surgery, so I'm just getting back on my feet. But I'm excited to travel with you guys again, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks so much for having me.
We've been here forever. If you don't know who we are, I've been at it 40 years, putting group tours together for our retiree groups in Michigan and Ohio. Travel the country we better know what we're doing at this stage. Travel is not inexpensive. So we've got a nice loyal following. We work hard, small company, but we do nice things, we feel. I'm gonna kind of go backwards here today and just spend a minute on, because Mary and Don want us to talk a little bit about next year. I won't get into much detail. We talked about Mississippi. There's 4 things we're doing next year. Heads up for these. I know we're early this year. A Mississippi Riverboat cruise on a boat called the Twilight Riverboat, which goes up and down the Mississippi. 140 passengers, small first class cruise vessel, if you will. It starts in LeClaire and goes up to Dubuque, and it's really one of the most popular day cruises on the Mississippi River. We are doing Montreal, Quebec. It's called Canada's Great Cities. I am from Canada. So it's Montreal, Quebec, Toronto, Ottawa, and Kingston with the Thousand Islands. Couple highlights: staying at the Chateau Frontenac in Quebec City, which arguably is the top hotel in Canada, and some theater performances. And we're a small company, folks, so we do these tours every 5 or 6 or 7 years, because we can't do the same tours every year, of course. So it's been a while since we've done these Canadian great cities. So heads up for that. That will be in May. We're not doing it in the summertime because it can get hot in Quebec City and Montreal. So, and it's a 9-day trip. A couple other ones we're working on. In Southern Ohio, they have an outdoor drama called Tecumseh. And the challenge in our business, because we do motor coach tours and we fly people around North America. But the challenge is coming up with these unique short getaways. And every retiree center, everyone we work with, always asks for more of these type of little getaways. So in Southern Ohio, there's some kind of interesting things. This Tecumseh drama, it's an outdoor drama. Tecumseh is the Shawnee Indian chief who was defending his state, Ohio, in the 1700s. They recreate this live in an outdoor drama setting. Behind the scenes tours are the stuntmen and the actors who perform. There's a place called The Wilds you may have heard of. It's one of the, it's an African safari. And it is one of the largest African conservation centers in the world in Ohio. So we're trying to kind of partner all that together with a dinner train. All of these dinner trains that are around the country are kind of upscale experiences with nice dining, which we do concentrate on our tours. And then a few other things we're trying to piece together. That's a summertime trip as well. We always have a lot of, success with our fall little getaways. We just came back from a little town called Jim Thorpe in Pennsylvania. So we've put a new tour together that a couple groups in Ohio have 100 people each. So we know we got something attractive. And it's a rails and riverboat themed fall color tour. And there's a really neat venue in a little town called Jim Thorpe called Penn's Peak. All they do is motor coach tours of retirees, us folks 60 plus. This year is Dolly and Kenny. And I'm telling you, if you close your eyes, you think Dolly and Kenny are on stage. They probably hold about 10 buses and they're full every day with day trippers and people like us that come from other states. That highlights is one of the highlights of the tours, along with some rails and riverboat theme that, and we know rails are quite popular as well. So now this year, all of our tours are sold out. Things are after the crazy times we had a few years ago, things are starting to, and I think all of our Ed and Tracy and can say the same thing with those companies. So we're excited that that's turning in the right direction for all of us. Washington, D.C., if you've heard me here before, we partner these tours with multiple groups in Michigan in order to pull these off. We're on our 3rd bus for this tour. We do this every 5 or 6 years as well. And it's arguably our most popular holiday tour, and it's called Capital Christmas. If you give me a second, I'll tell you more. Because we have, so we're on, I mentioned we're on bus number 3. We have 20 people sold on bus 3. So in other words, we have 26 seats left. just a heads up, okay? But this is out to many groups. We have a couple groups in Ohio that have wait lists. So if this is something, you don't have to sign up today, but heads up, it won't be available in a couple months. We start out in Cambridge, Ohio, and they have a Dickens theme. They turn their whole downtown into a holiday Dickens themed downtown with characters. And it's guided, so I won't get into the detail of the history and how it was developed. But one of the real interesting things is having dinner with Queen Elizabeth. And it's a first-person portrayal of her life in London. And it's really interesting, interactive thing that our folks enjoy. And that highlights the first day with several more highlights, we think, going on. So I'm just going to kind of run through this kind of quickly. So some of the highlights in DC. One is downtown accommodations, because DC traffic is like New York City, maybe worse. And I see people shaking their heads. So one of the things we concentrate on is nice dining and centralized nice accommodations. So I'm going to just show you a couple of these. These are right downtown. It's the Residence Inn or the Courtyard by Marriott. They're sister properties right next door to each other. We have a good location to work out of. So it's a pretty active itinerary. Not a lot of downtime. We're only on the road for a few days. So I want to show you as much as we can, really in a relatively short period of time. Guided touring of Washington. I'm going to show you, these are some illuminated Christmas holiday shots, but our touring of DC, of course, is by day with the monuments and memorials as the theme by day. And actually we'll do it at night as well, so you'll get a whole different perspective of DC in the evening, not only Christmas, but the illumination of the monuments and memorials in the evening paints a different picture than by day. A couple of the other things that attract people to these tours, the cathedral, of course, but I'm kind of getting to, these are some of the things that'll be incorporated into our day tripping to include some of the highlights in DC. But it's kind of an entertainment themed tour. Ford's Theater, A Christmas Carol, and we also go to the Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. And I believe that we may be one of the only companies, if that does that, at least bus-wise, busing, to and from Michigan to the Kennedy Center. So anyway, Ford's Theater, for A Christmas Carol, Mount Vernon, George Washington's Place. A little bit of walking here, folks, but we'll kind of give you a really good idea of how to better spend your time for the few hours that we are here. We're going to hope for nice weather this day, but it's a must if we're that close to Washington, D.C. And then the Kennedy Center. This will highlight the trip without a doubt. It's our job to, last year we had a group here. We had great front row center seats on the main floor. It's our job to do the same thing for you guys. So those tickets are not available yet. But their big show is the NCO Holiday Pops concert with the National Symphony Orchestra. And it's in the big leagues. So these are just some of the shots of a very special night. We have dinner real close by at a nice dining place as well. A smart casual dress, but we'll give you all that heads up as we get a little closer. Other than that, folks, I'm going to be around for a few minutes. Any questions on, I know we threw a lot at you for next year, but our Utah trips are sold out. Our Halloween to Hudson River Valley is sold out. So if DC is something that you're even considering in the next little while, track down Mary or Don and get yourself signed up. I appreciate being here. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mary and Don, for having me. Thank you, folks, for coming out today. Pardon?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, this table set
All right, thank you. It's good to be here. What I'm going to do this afternoon is share with you a brief bit of information about myself and the company, and then more specifically about some pretty awesome trips. So, welcome. The first one I'm going to share with you is probably one of the biggest bucket list destinations in the world, Australia and New Zealand, okay? And it's leave March 26th of 2025. All of the trips that I'm going to be sharing with you are for next year, okay, 2025. And this is my family. I've been with the company now for 34 years. May 1st was my 34th anniversary. And I service the entire state of Michigan. This is my family. My girls are all grown up and out of college. One's in Boston right now, lives in Boston. And the other, she is what last year, after she graduated, she said, I'm not really ready to dig into what I want to do, so I'm going to be an au pair on a sailboat going between Greece and Turkey for 6 months. And that's what she did last year. So this year, she's going to go back with that same family. They have 2 twin 5-year-old boys, and they're going to be going from the Western Mediterranean for like 4 months. She's going to come home, and then in November, fly back to the Canary Islands, and on this catamaran sailboat with this young Vancouver family, sail across the Atlantic, ending up in Grenada. My wife are going to fly down and meet her. So I'm like, oh, that's great. We've really, gave you a great sense of adventure, but I think you're taking this a little too far here. As a parent, I am scared to death. That's a long way in a little sailboat. I've been on the seas in big boats, and they get tossed around pretty easy. So anyway, you better get home or you're in big trouble. So that's my family, but we love to travel. And in March, we went to Victoria Falls, South Africa, and Botswana. And my wife and I said, we're going to do that. And they said, you are? Well, we would like to go. We said, all right, you're paying. And they said, all right. So we all went, and we had a really good time. So what I'm saying is I am 65 years old now, and our mindset is we are going to travel while we can, while we have our health. And our strategy is to do the longer trips or the more aggressive physically, or maybe they take more walking. Do them now and then decline and do the easier things as we progress through our life. So we're hitting it really hard. We've got a lot of things lined up this year. We did Antarctica last year, and so we still have some things next year to plan out. So that's our mindset, and I think it's a good one to have. So with that, Colette, we are going into our 106th anniversary of being in business. We're a family-owned company, and this past year we had 142 packages touching upon all 7 continents. So really a lot of amazing destinations out there to explore, which really allows you to keep that sense of adventure in your life. And that's what we use travel for, as a reason to get together. I've been helping people like Mary and Dawn for 34 years, get groups together and go to places. And then last year was the first year that I personally took my own group, and we had 13 friends and family, and we went up to Finland in the glass igloos and see the northern lights, and we drove dog sleds and everything. And it was so much fun doing this with my own personal friends and family. So this year in October, we're going to do the French Riviera. So traveling, we always talk about amazing hotels, experiences, topography, culture, history, but the intangible thing that no one ever talks about is the camaraderie you have on this trip with other people. When we're in South Africa, you're seeing amazing things like elephants come running past your Jeep and everything. You get close to people really, really quick. And I don't mean just physically, but I mean you're sharing milestones in your life that your own family don't even share with you. So within 3 days, we were cutting each other up just like friends and family, joking with each other and everything. And it really brings you together. And I think that's what group travel is really all about as well, is making it fun. We are one of those companies you'll see on the Wheel of Fortune. We've been doing that partnership for over 30 years, so it's kind of cool to be having dinner and all of a sudden your company's there on TV. The other thing, we've got a strong partnership with the Hallmark Channel. We've been on there in the month of December for several years. And once or twice a week, you'll see us in the Wall Street Journal as well. So just allowing us to build brand awareness out there in the marketplace. All right. And the big thing that group travel does for you, or guided tours does for you versus if you're going to a destination on your own, is it makes everything simple and everything easy. You're not standing in line to buy tickets, trying to figure out where should I go, what should I see, driving on a different side of the road, navigating, with language barriers. It takes all of that out of the equation. You just focus on enjoying the destination and enjoying the people that you're traveling with. All right, so Australia, New Zealand, it's a 20-day experience. And you're covering a lot of ground here. So Australia is about the size of the United States, okay? So you're going to do your first 3 nights in Sydney, big city of Sydney, fly up 3 hours to Cairns, right near the equator. We're going to get out and experience the Barrier Reef, fly to Alice Springs for 2 nights, coach over to Ayers Rock, fly down to Melbourne for 2 nights, and then we're going to do mainly focusing on the southern island of New Zealand. And we're doing Milford Sound cruise, Queenstown, and flying out of Christchurch after 2 nights. And we offer the post-extension to Fiji for those that want to get a little more well-rounded experience in the South Pacific. So we start off in Sydney, real proud of the fact that they were founded by a group of convicts. Okay, they wear that on their shoulder. Very sprawling area, lots of different personalities throughout the area. And I don't mean people, though different regions of the city. And we're going to take you and expose you to that. And we're going to meet up with the opal wholesaler and learn how they process and mine the opals. And then, of course, if you want to purchase them in jewelry, you can do so. We do have a free evening, and when we do that, we offer an evening for a performance in the Opera House, plus a dinner that's included. And then we always have the Sydney Harbor dinner cruise, and as the skyline comes alive at night, you're out there on the boat, really getting a different perspective of Sydney in the evening.
That opera one, is that an additional cost?
That is an additional cost. So with us, we're more of an inclusive type of company where we're including a lot of iconic sightseeing experiences in the itinerary. So when we say an option, that for us is something additional. So it's not something that most people would want to do. Maybe they're not interested in entertainment, or maybe they're not interested in bungee jumping or taking a helicopter. Those are the type of things that we offer as optional that we found some people might enjoy on their free time, okay? So we're gonna get you out to the Barrier Reef. We have a high-speed catamaran take you out there to this largest organism in the world, 2,800 different coral reefs out there. You can actually see them from outer space. And if you're ever scuba diving or snorkeling, this is the pinnacle. So even if you've never done that, I encourage you to at least snorkel. But if you don't, we are at least going to get you on a glass-bottom boat ride so that you can experience all the wonders and the colors and the fluorescent hues of orange and green and turquoise and the fish and the coral that lie beneath the surface. And then if you want to try and snorkel or scuba dive, that opportunity is right there, okay? When I was there, I was in 30 feet of water scuba diving. It's not that, that's not deep in the scuba world, but there was a 5-foot clam fully opened up, and I kind of looked in, but I didn't want him to shut down on me, so I kind of stayed back, and that was kind of cool. So on the free afternoon, one of the options we offer is taking the rail cars over the waterfalls. When I did this, I saw flocks of wild cockatoos and cockatiels flying beneath me, and that was a real thrill. We are going to take you to Hartley's Crocodile Farm and take you on a little cruise through the rivers. You might see these green ants crawling up a tree, and if you pinch them and eat them, it's ascorbic acid or vitamin C, but I recommend orange juice instead, okay? I had a little Foster's beer, so my liquid courage was up that day, okay? And at that farm, we're going to meet you up with the marsupials, like the kangaroos, the wallabies, and of course, the koala bears, and you can have your picture taken right with them. And then we'll get you out to the outback and Ayers Rock and Alice Springs, have dinner under the bush, so when we're out there, the sun goes down and billions of stars drop from the sky, and you have your big chance to eat a grub worm out there. So get your bib on for that. And learn how they have some really creative solutions to some unique challenges, like education. Kids are spread out all over, so they have the radio. They could broadcast the lessons over radio. And when people get sick or hurt, the flying doctor service. So they don't have just a hospital to go right down the road. The doctor flies to them. So you learn about some things like that. Gets you out to Ayers Rock, which is a little bit over 6 miles in diameter. To give you an idea of the immensity of this thing, it's very sacred. You'll see hieroglyphics on the base there. I remember a long time ago watching a special with John Denver running across the top of the rock, which was really cool. We have something called a sundowner. So we're going to have special cocktails and champagne watch the sunset and watch the colors change on the rock. And then down to Melbourne, very English-influenced city. World-class, events go there, from the tennis tournaments down there. Microbreweries were big here before we even had them here in the States. They've got a river running through it. So we'll take you around, see some of the botanical gardens. And we give you your choice, which is a big theme you're going to see on a lot of our tours. So on certain days on how you want to spend your day, you and your roommate may actually have 2 different choices, and that way you each end up being more fulfilled on how you spent your day based on those choices. So you have free time or going to the botanical gardens here. And then the optional excursion in Melbourne, where you go out to Phillip Island for the fairy penguins. They're about 12 foot tall, full grown. There's about 20,000 of them swimming out in the water. And they have bleachers embedded in the embankment on the beach. And around sunset, about 2 hours, they start assaulting the beach. They're washing up, and they walk right past you as they bed down in their burrows. And you see them in there chirping away, and they're bringing fish for their little ones. And the people go nuts watching this natural phenomenon. The little guys do their natural routine. So then on to Queenstown, New Zealand. It's about a 2.5 hour flight. People go out here because of Australia, but they come home liking New Zealand even more so. You have these backbone of huge mountains. Queenstown, 3 nights, right on Lake Wakatipu. In fact, this picture is taken up from the Skyline restaurant, where you take a tram up to the top and you get this great view up there. And they refer to it as the adventurous islands of the South Pacific. We're going to take you on a 4.5 hour journey cutting through the mountains. On the way, we'll pick up your ship, where you're going to cruise on an 11-mile journey on the Milford Sound. So the mountains are jumping up on each side of you, seals and dolphins swimming up to the ship, and loads of waterfalls coming down on each side of you. And if you get the crazy captain like I had, they'll give everyone a little cup, and they'll say, "Oh, catch the running water." And then they plunge right through the whole waterfall, and everyone's soaking wet. So beware of those guys. I will say, have been fortunate to visit all 7 continents and met many friendly people all over the world. The Australians and the New Zealanders, I would argue, are some of the friendliest, genuine, fun-loving people in the world. You hear stories where they met someone traveling, and they said, "Oh, stay with us, mate," and they really mean it, and they do, and they stay with it. And I think I'm a pretty friendly person, but I wouldn't, if I just met you, I wouldn't say, "Yeah, stay with me and my family." But that's how these people really are. All right. And they've got some world-class wines down there in Australia and New Zealand. We get into Arrowtown, which used to be an old gold boom town. Mount Cook National Park, with the glacier, is right there. This was the practice ground for Edmund Hillary, that climbed Mount Everest, the first person to ever do that. This is where he did his workouts or practice runs. Okay. And then we'll go to the Naturalist Reserve, where you see some of the indigenous animals like the kiwi bird and some of their other unique wildlife. Poor bird doesn't fly, he's nocturnal, but he ended up on the shoe polish can, so that's something noteworthy. And then we're going to include a Maori boat ride on the Avon River in Christchurch, which is a big college town focused on the horticultural arts. And the Maori people are the Polynesian people there. We're going to get in the boat with them and row away. Now this night, we're going to break you up into 6 to 8 people per group. New Zealand family will pick you up, take you back to their home, and cook you dinner. Some of you might get home at 9:30, some might not get home till 12:30. Just depends how the evening flows. And the next day, everyone compares notes, and it's like, wow, that was really cool. And Christchurch, they have, recovered quite well after 2 back-to-back devastating earthquakes, and they're back stronger than ever. And the other thing about Australia and New Zealand, they were probably the most tight-fisted country in the world during the COVID. And now that they've opened up, boy, everyone is going there. This is such a popular destination. All right, and cheers with that. And then we offer the Fiji Extension, which is just another way to get a little bit more exposure and experience of the South Pacific. Good way to relax after touring for 20 days. And on all of our tours, I know on the brochure it says round trip air included from Detroit. But we take that one step further. We're going to pick you up at the centers and take you to and from Metro Airport. Okay? I don't know that we're going to have him picking you up, but we're going to have some good-looking person picking you up. And if you want to upgrade on our tours like Comfort Plus, Premium Economy, or Business Class, First Class, we can do that for you. And when you're on these long flights, like it's 14 and a half hours from LA to Sydney, you may want to consider that. If you have the means and can do it, to lie horizontal will make you feel a little bit more like a human. And I know that sounds like a long flight, but the way the airlines like to say it, you're only 3 meals and 3 movies away from Australia. So on this one, the business class is an additional $79.90, but if you can do it, you'll appreciate it. So it's there for the liking. We offer our travel insurance on all of our tours, allows you to cancel for any reason right up to midnight the night before the trip. So bad hair day, volcano erupted in Oxford, we don't really need a reason, and you receive 100% refund of all your monies, less the insurance. Some companies it's only 60 or 80%. With us, it's 100% refund, okay? It's kind of like car insurance or home insurance. You hope you never need it, but that one time you do, you're really glad that you have it. And ours has been mentioned in the New York Times and the USA Today as one of the most comprehensive, but also one of the most competitively priced, okay? And the other thing that's included in that, and might even be even more important than protecting the cost of your trip, is the medical aspect. So when we go outside the country, Medicare does not cover us if we incur medical charges outside the country. So with this, you save your receipts, you get home, you submit the claim to the insurance company, and that helps get you reimbursed for that, okay? Every time I take my family on these trips, I always get the insurance, and one time, unfortunately, I did have to use it, and I was really glad that we had it. We have a loyalty program, so if you travel within 12 months, if your second trip is within 12 months of the previous trip, you receive a substantial discount. I think it's like 5% of the land cost of your previous trip. And if your second trip isn't until 13 to 24 months from the previous trip, it's 3% of that. So if you're doing a lot of these trips one after another, you're getting that loyalty discount as well. And it's our way of saying thanks for traveling with us, and please keep us in mind for your next trip, okay? You do need a passport. It has to be valid for at least 6 months beyond the date of the trip. And the Australia and New Zealand both have visas that are needed, but that now is all done electronically. So we will send the links out to Mary and Dawn to pass on to you. And it's like 20 Australian dollars for Australia and about 47 New Zealand dollars for New Zealand. But that's all done electronically, and that satisfies that requirement. So we are holding the seats for both groups up until September 28th of this year. To save your space on these trips, it's $698 deposit. The insurance is always to be paid with the deposit. This insurance $599, so it would be total $1,297 per person to save your spot on the trip. And the cost is $97.99 per person, double. And all this information is in the brochures. On the succeeding tours, I'm not going to be in depth on the slides because it's all right there, and I know I want to honor the time commitment. And if you're going without a roommate, it's $11.79. And as you know how they say thank you in Australia and New Zealand? Thank you. Yeah. So it's an easy speaking country. You can drink the water, and some of the best, most welcoming, friendliest people in the world. So with that, I'm going to go to the next one. All right, Switzerland, Austria, and Bavaria. And this one is, okay, so this one is leaving April 30th, okay? So it's coming around the bend as well, but in less than 11 months from now, the folks that are going will be down over there. What I like about this one, only 2 hotels, okay? Only 2 hotels, 4 nights in Bern, and 6, 7, 8, 9, another 4 nights in Innsbruck, Austria. And you're also going to visit Liechtenstein. So you have 3 countries in there, and plus Germany, so 4 really. So you're going to be visiting Hopken, Lucerne, flying into Zurich. Liechtenstein is a country, and then Munich, we're going to visit that. Salzburg, Austria, and then Bavaria, and flying out of Munich. And there is an extension over to Vienna, Austria at the end. So the Swiss mountains, Europe, as far as Europe goes, Switzerland is my favorite. It's where we went for our honeymoon, and I am a mountain person. So Bern, you've got the medieval streets of Gedrita Gasse, still has the old medieval signage. We're going to start off with a fondue dinner to immerse you into the culinary attributes of the tour. And with us, our theme or our model is breakfast every day, at least half of your dinners. And really the dinners are accentuating the culinary attributes of the cuisine in each of those regions of the world, okay? And then incorporating a lot of the iconic sightseeing experiences, and yet by design, allowing some leisure time so you can explore things on your own. Maybe you need to rest, maybe you want to shop, maybe you want to take a hike. You can sit down one-to-one with our tour manager and kind of strategize how you want to use that time in the most efficient manner for you. What I like about Bern, it's kind of like Venice, where you have the rivers and the, running right adjacent, butting up to the historic buildings. One of the best well-preserved medieval villages in all of Europe. And on your free time, I think it's like €8 or 8 Swiss francs, and you can take the Gurtebahn up to the funicular, up to the top, and you get these great panoramic views. Hopken is like you expect Julie Andrews to come out singing "The Hills Are Alive" when you're up there, and you see the cows with the big bells. We're going to take you to an Alphorn factory, if you will, which is really a shop, and you get a chance to blow in to the Alpine horn. So how cool is that? Another Swiss fondue. Lucerne, Switzerland, another favorite of mine. It used to be a walled city. You'll still see remnants of the wall around it, surrounded by the mountains. And you have the old Chapel Bridge down there that caught fire and has been remodeled. We're going to take you and walk you across that. That used to be a treasury and a prison. Used to hear people yelling and so forth when they were in there. We don't do that to you when you're on tour, so you're good there. And the Dying Lion Monument, which is commemorating to the Swiss soldiers. We're going to have a nice dinner. Then we're going to cross over to Liechtenstein. So if you're counting countries on your belt, you can cross Liechtenstein off that you've visited another country. The smallest little town probably in all of Europe other than Monte Carlo. And then Innsbruck, Austria. Again, surrounded by mountains. The Austrians for years and years won all the Winter Olympics because they had year-round conditions right there. You have your choice here, an architectural tour or a cultural and historical tour. This is where Maximilian used to sit out there and watch the spectacles down below. So the historical and cultural tour, you get a little bit of the palace for the, where the Maximilian and his family used to be. It was also where they brought 2 powerful families together in a marriage right there, the Austrian Empire. I'm kind of messing up the verbiage a little bit there, but it kind of sounds similar to that. And if you do the architectural tour, part of that is the ski jump. Then into Salzburg. There's the newer town, and then there's the old Salzburg, or the Altstadt. And of course, if that looks a little bit familiar, that's where the Sound of Music, where the family was singing around the Mirabell Gardens. You have the Hohensalzburg Castle in the backdrop overlooking it. And of course, Mozart's birthplace, his piano, and some of his original compositions are held there. We're going to take you into this 1,200-year-old St. Peter's restaurant run by the monks and have lunch there and enjoy the afternoon at your leisure there. We have the folklore Tyrolean show, with bringing in all the elements of the music in the area. And then of Ludwig's 3 castles, this one he actually lived in. And it's kind of modeled after Versailles. We'll take you through there. We're going to get you into the Auteuil Abbey, which run by the monks. But however, it's got a brewery and a distillery in it. And we're going to take you through there. I bought this, I guess you'd call it a whiskey, that had this expensive spice of saffron in there. For back then, it was like $10. And it was good. And I let my neighbors try it, and that was my big mistake. It went really quick. So that's kind of a neat place to see a distillery. All right. So that's that trip. We offer the Vienna extension, which is really neat because there's no cars, and you feel like you've gone back in time. They blast centuries of dirt off of the exterior, so all these, timepieces look like they're brand new, and you get a chance to experience that while you're walking through Vienna, like the old St. Stephen's Cathedral, which if you want to see the darker side of things, has a really interesting collection of bones and skulls down in the basement, in the crypt. And that's also where Mozart was married and buried as well. And that's the Schönbrunn Palace. That was, oh boy, I can't think of her name right now, Maria Theresa of the Habsburgs. That was her summer cottage, okay? So on the tour, you go through just a couple of the rooms because it would take forever to do them all. All right, so that's that one. So that one is April 30th through May 9th, and that one's 10 days, all right? The price is $39.99 with air included. So for 10 days, a great price, and great time of year to go before it gets big and crowded in the summer months, and yet you still have nice weather, probably jacket weather at that time of year. All right? All right, next up, national parks on September 10th. It's a great time of year to go because you don't have all the families out there and the crowds. And this is a 12-day tour, okay? So you're seeing a lot out there. If you're flying out there, you might as well see more of the area than going for a shorter amount of time. And you can see you're covering a lot of ground all in one experience. Some of, arguably, our United States' best parks all included in one experience. Starting out in Scottsdale for one night, then we're going to visit Sedona for a stop, and we're going to stay at the Grand Canyon for a night. Then we're going to go over to Lake Powell, one night at Lake Powell, right on Lake Powell. And then we go over to Zion National Park for 2 nights, then on up to Bryce Canyon, opportunities to hike through Bryce Canyon, down into the canyon, and then back up, and then on to Salt Lake City for a night. 2 nights in Jackson Hole, all right, Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Grand Teton National Park, 1 night at Yellowstone National Park. We always list the hotels in the brochure. I do encourage you to Google them on whatever tour you're looking at because I think you're going to be very pleased with the accommodations that we've chosen for you, the location, the level of quality. I think that's going to make a big difference for you. Then through Cody, 1 night at Sheridan, and then Mount Rushmore, overnighting in Rapid City, and then flying home from there. So if you've never been out west, or maybe you saw parts of this, you're going to see a lot on this tour. And that's what's made this in our top 10 for the past 25 years. All right, so it's a level 2, which means 4 is the most intense, demanding on physical activity, and this one is only a 2. So it means being able to get off and on a bus, you know, maybe walking for 45 minutes or what have you. Or up to 2 hours, I'm sorry. So start out in Scottsdale, and then working your way on up to Sedona, the Red Rock region, and then of course the Grand Canyon. 18 miles wide, over a mile deep, and as the sun changes throughout the day, so do the colors of the Grand Canyon. And it was really Teddy Roosevelt the first who, after losing his wife and a child all in one day, found that when he walked out in nature, that helped soothe him with this tremendous grief that he was experiencing. And he realized we need to hold on to nature for our own mental health. And that's why he started developing the national parks throughout the country. And we just celebrated our 100th anniversary on those a little over a couple years ago. So this is one of the great ones here. Go over to the dam. Lake Powell, one of the second largest man-made lakes in all of the United States. You're going to stay right on the edge of it, working your way over the bridge. And we get out to this little town that really has become an iconic, historic town for Western movies. So like the John Waynes and the Charlton Hestons had movies there. Zion National Park, another iconic park where you have the canyon walls rising up on each side of you. There's some tremendous hiking opportunities if you're into any of those. So this is great for that. We're going to take you on a tram car so you can get a good, overwhelming introduction to what this Zion Canyon has to offer. And then we do give you the choice to go out and explore any of the many trails. You can get a trail map from the park at the hotel, or you can go into the museum there that touches upon that people have been living here for over 24,000 years. So we always talk about, you know, the immigrants coming in from, you know, most of us probably came from Ireland or wherever in Europe. Well, there's been Native American people here for a long, long time before we came. Then into Bryce Canyon. We spend about 2.5 hours here. So if you want to hike down into the I guess you'd call it a theater almost, but into the switchbacks, and it's this iron oxide formations. You can tell that it looks like a former ocean here, and that's because it was. The whole Grand Canyon and everything was a prehistoric ocean. So you get these bright oxide colors, and then up to Salt Lake City, and continuing on up through the Teton Mountain Range, which run up, elevation is about 2.5 miles high. And then we get into Jackson Hole, which is famous for their iconic antler collection from all the elk out there. We get you on a buggy ride, a nice dinner with entertainment. And this town of Jackson Hole is where Clint Eastwood made a couple of his movies with Ruth Gordon, where they had the orangutans out there and the big fight scenes in the town, and that just a couple of several movies that were filmed here. And while we're there, they have optional raft riding on the Snake River. Now, when you get into Yellowstone, this is where you have the amazing array of the giant buffalo, the bison, the ones that shake the ground when they walk. And I remember reading a newspaper excerpt that back in the early days when the trains were just starting to come across, this train was stopped for 22 hours until this herd of buffalo finally all passed. That's how thick they were before, you know, we all kind of came and emptied that. So Grand Tetons. Now we're getting into Yellowstone Park. This is known as the Grand Canyon at Yellowstone. You have Old Faithful, which is the iconic geyser, and all these other ones around it. But this whole area is an immense volcanic region, and they say if it ever blows, it's probably going to affect several states around it. So they're always monitoring that, and it's an interesting thing because they have boardwalks that go around them all, and as you're walking, all of a sudden they're shooting up, and you never know where they're going to come, and it's really exciting to see just this show of nature doing its thing, and you get to be a part of it. And Old Faithful is almost like every 48 minutes, and it'll go up for a couple minutes. And in the early days, people would wash their clothes in Old Faithful. All right, and this is the highest elevation lake. When I was there, a ranger was explained how one of the fires that I think was probably about 25 years ago, all the animals had the wherewithal to run into the lake to escape the, these 40-foot flames that were being blown in from the wind. So animals are intelligent. Buffalo Bill Center, get up through the mountains. And then we're going to visit Crazy Horse. And believe it or not, they're getting close to the completion of this. It's been going on a long time. I think 3 generations of Native Americans have been working on it. And they have a beautiful collection of Native American museums of different tribes. And there's some interactive things going on. And then, of course, Mount Rushmore to really finish it up. They have about 150 years of American history with these 4 gentlemen. If you remember Cary Grant, there was a movie where they were getting chased up on there. Now, most companies, they also now have a trail that you can walk up close to it and around it. But most companies only show you the front of Mount Rushmore. We show you the back of it too, okay? We want to make sure you get the full view of everything when you go to Mount Rushmore, all right? That's the Canadian view from Canada, all right? And then the Lakota Native Americans, we're going to have like a discussion with them. And you can share with them. They will share with you their history and what it's like to live up there in that area. All right, so that's the national parks. All right, now we're talking bluegrass country and the Smoky Mountains. This is a fun one. So you start out 2 nights in Louisville, then 2 nights in Lexington, Berea, 2 nights Gatlinburg, down to the Smoky Mountains National Park, Asheville for 2 nights, and 2 nights finishing up in Charlotte. So right through the Smoky Mountains, starting out in Louisville, which is named after King Louis. And you ever heard of Louis the 14th bourbon or whiskey? I think it costs like $400 a bottle. Anyway, this is where the bourbon stuff really starts around here. And of course, they just had the Kentucky Derby last week. So this is going to be taking you out there. You get a chance to be right up close to the track and learn all the interesting facts. The roses are actually about a 40-pound blanket of roses when they win that prize there. And of course, they had a 3-nose finish, this past time, which was really exciting. Well, we're going to take you on a historic tour there, seeing some of the old historic mansions, and it's really a cool city. Getting you down by the river, you have your choice here. Tough choices. Louisville Slugger Museum or the Fraser Kentucky History Museum. Now, the Louisville Slugger Museum is interesting because you go in there and they show you like where they get the wood from and how all these Major League Baseball players have their own bats personally designed and created from the factory here. And they talk about all the whole historic players and what was unique about their orders for the bats. And they have a batting cage there, so if you want to try swinging against the batting cage, that's fun. Or the Fraser Kentucky History Museum, which is the first stop on the Bourbon Trail. And when I was there, they gave us a T-shirt that said, "I walked the Bourbon Trail," and so I wore that. And my daughter said, "Dad, you don't deserve to wear that. There's 100-some, distilleries, and you only went to 2 of them." So I said, "Sorry, I'm wearing the T-shirt." So, but we are going to take you to one. We're going to take you to the Buffalo Trace, which is one of the more well-known, iconic. It's an immense campus. It's about 200 acres. We'll take you through the distillery and learn about all the different types and what goes into it. Everything from charring the barrels and to what level they do that, and then soaking them and so forth. And then the best part is getting you into the tastings room. That's where nobody ever wants to leave. So the tour guide has trouble getting everyone back on the bus there. and then out to the horse country, Lexington. We're going to take you to one of the renowned farms down there, and you see these beautiful horses. And when they take you into the barn, when you first walk up, they hear you, and all of a sudden, all their heads come popping out, almost like, hey, come see me. And then you do, and they let you pet them and everything. When you go out to the fence, and they may be way out there, and they see people, they come flying up, and they really are so people friendly, and you can see it, you know, the intelligent eyes and everything. They had to drag me away. I love the horses, so. And you will too. All right. Then we're going to take you to Berea, which is known for all the artistic work that they're known for, and we'll see demonstration there. Kentucky Music Hall of Fame, and then continuing on to Daniel Boone Forest, getting closer and closer to the Smoky Mountains. And you got this area that's so thick with the forest, and then into Gatlinburg, which is a big tourist area in the middle of the mountains. And when you think of the Smoky Mountains, this really gives you the idea of how that name came about. And I think they say there's like 2,000 bears in this area, but they also have quite a bit of other wildlife down there. And another interactive experience with the Native Americans. We'll go to the Moonshine Distillery. And then in Asheville, which has really grown as a touristy area, but the big draw is being up in the middle of the mountains. And a lot of the reason we're here is the Biltmore Estate. So it's the largest in our country. If you notice, if you've ever been to the Dodge Mansion, it's very similar. Both of them have been modeled after a French chateau. Okay? And it's surrounded by the mountains, immense acreage around it, going through the gardens. And that one is the Smoky Mountains, October 9th through the 17th. So 9 days, and it's $39.99, including air from Detroit. Okay? And then my last one. Now the last one we're calling a sneak peek, and that's just the only reason because we just haven't been finalized yet. So once it is, we'll get that out to you. This is Discovering Scotland. However, we're doing it in August, and that's when the Royal Military Tattoo occurs. Okay, that's the big event where you're literally in the Edinburgh Castle, and there's the bagpipers out there in mass, and the fireworks at night. It's an evening performance, and that's included for you. Okay, I'll give you an idea, and that's a 10-dayer. So it's start out with one night in Glasgow, and then which is a big cultural city. The other thing I like about this, you've got a couple of the islands on the circumference of Scotland included. So we're not just doing the main central part, you're really getting out and up. So we're going to do Oban, Ballachulish, take a little ferry over to the Isle of Skye, Loch Ness. We're going to go all the way up to Thurso and ferry over to the Orkney Islands, and then coming back down through the Highlands region and Inverness, the little village of Pitlochry, and then finishing up in Edinburgh for the military tattoo. So Glasgow is the big cultural city. They have the opera, the ballet, the big city. And we are going to take you to the piping center. And how many of you have ever blown into a bagpipes? I can't. I haven't either. But this is your chance. Everyone gets a chance to blow the bagpipes here and see if you can fill them up and play. So that's fun. We have your first evening immersed into a Scottish dinner. And then from there, we're heading up the west coast. We're getting out to the outskirts. Your choice here is McCaig's Tower or the Castle Museum and Grounds. So you have a lot of these arches. I know there's the one show that recently, in the last couple years, that was big where there was time travel involved. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Outlander, yes. That was filmed in Scotland. And had a lot of interesting history and so forth. Or you do the museum castle on the coast. Pardon? Yeah, that was a very interesting show, I will say that. All right, so we're along the west coast. We're heading up and taking in the small villages on the way up there. Lots of sheep out there. The sweaters are a good buy, scarves, things like that. So we're up to the Orkney Islands, and then we're going to come back down to Loch Ness. This is a 20-mile long lake. The Urquhart Castle is right there. And this, of course, is where the famous Loch Ness Monster was said to be seen. And I would argue that, maybe if you had enough scotch or whiskey, you might see the Loch Ness Monster. All right, so we're continuing on down and are working our way. You have the this archaeological dig site that predates the Egyptian pyramids. All right. That's very similar to Outlander at the beginning. And then visit this castle, which sits on the other side, is right on the coast, so you're overlooking the water. And that is a common sight, the cows with the long hair and also the sheepdogs controlling them when they're out there. And then coming into Pitlochry, which has its own little distillery there as well. It's kind of like a boutique style distillery. And then into Edinburgh. So whenever you see the castle sitting up there on the mountainous rock, that tells you you're in Edinburgh. It's held back and forth between the English and the Scottish over the centuries. There's a historic area underneath it where, the kind of the underbelly or the what's the best way to say it? A lot of the folks in poverty where they lived, so there's a whole story and a history of that. So we're going to have dinner, and then a tour through the Edinburgh Castle. You see the crown jewels. They give you some free time to explore all the nooks and crannies of the Edinburgh Castle, which is really fun. You have the Royal Mile. And then the evening performance of the military tattoo. So if you like iconic events, throughout the world, this is definitely one of those that fits the bill. They do the fireworks and everything in the evening. And you've got reserved seats for the military tattoo.